Listener, what's happening? Spring is in the air, and I say, bring on summer. A lot of our guests have summer events coming up. We've had such a variety of guests. I promise there will be something you'd love to go to this summer hosted by one of our previous guests. Check out our guest page on the website. Click on our previous guest photos and visit their websites to see what's coming soon. That's www.themoreyouKnow.com. Who knows what you may find? This is The More You NoCo, a podcast bringing you wonderful ideas and conversations with the people of Northern Colorado. I am your host, Ivan Wayne. Who will it be next? Let's go. The end of life is a phase many people do not consider until that time comes. Our guest today hopes that not only you can have that difficult conversation with yourself about how you want your older years to look like, but that you can also have that important conversation with family members, parents, etc. Maureen Walker from Assisted Living Locators, Northern Colorado, joins us for a discussion about the incredibly important and personal decisions we make for ourselves and others as we all get older. Let's get into it. I'm with Maureen Walker in her office here in West Greeley. So first of all, welcome and thank you.
Thank you.
So you are representing today, coming at us, going to educate everyone about Assisted Living Locators. And that's located out here in Northern Colorado. So how wide of an area do you help serve?
I do serve all of Northern Colorado. Basically, I serve from Berthoud on up into Cheyenne. I do cross the state border, and then I go from Fort Morgan up into Estes. So the whole entire Front Range plus all the rural parts also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of the Venn diagram of our show.
Yes.
Hopefully encapsulates.
Yes.
So what is Assisted Living Locators for those of us who don't know and haven't heard?
Yeah, what Assisted Living Locators is I am a placement service for seniors, and the main thing I do is I help seniors find if they need assisted living, independent living, any type of a memory care, or even a 55 and older active senior lifestyle. I work with a variety of all kinds of facilities, complexes, buildings, whatever we might call them. So that's the main thing I do. But where I really start out is I focus on what everybody's individual need is. So if you call me, I meet with you the first time and I say, what's your goal? What's your goal as far as what you want to see the rest of your life look like? Try to involve family. Some people don't have that. Just try to find all the resources before we even start looking, because we want to make sure that that's the best choice for them when the time comes. Sometimes it doesn't come down to placement. Sometimes it comes down to staying at home, getting in-home services and things like that.
Right. So
yeah.
People first approach you as an information tool?
Yes, mostly starts out informational. A lot of times once I talk to somebody, it can happen very quickly if they're at that point in their life that they need to make that choice. Or I've been working with a couple people for well over a year now, just going through the process. One particular person I'm working with, we started looking in the Fort Collins area, and now he wants me to hook him up in Florida. So I can do that also.
Okay. Yeah. So just because your customers and the people that you work with and help out, just because they're not looking to stay in Northern Colorado, you can still help them.
Yes, I have around 115 partners right now throughout the United States that we can help with. There's very few places that we don't have someone. There is some places like in Montana, but we also have other referral partners that we could help you with and things like that.
Yeah. Is there a part of this process that you think people underestimate or that they don't really know about until they're in it?
Yeah, underestimate. The one thing that is really great is if I'm the first call, because I can guide people in the right direction. People can get really confused in, like if you, Ivan, called and said, hey, I'm looking for a place for my grandma, you're going to get a lot of information and lingo that you might not understand through the process. So I can kind of narrow that down for everybody and help them decide what might be the best for them, the best fit for them, how much money they might have, how long their money is going to last, whether they need to think about going to a subsidized income, in using county funds, going for Medicaid type of things like that. So to kind of get it all narrowed down before you start looking, because you don't want to look at places that are not affordable or places that may not work for you.
Do you often get calls where people don't even know what to do?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I get calls, and they'll even say that, I'm calling because I have no idea where to start. So those are always fun ones because you can really help through the process and find out, what it is that does work for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think some people come to you with a little bit of, I don't know if guilt is the right word, but they just don't even know. Like if I had a family member who I was about to look for something, I wouldn't know what to do, and I would feel a little guilty about that this is a realm I know nothing about.
Sure. Yeah, there's always a lot of guilt. The guilt comes mainly when it's a husband and wife that have been married, 50, 60, 70 years, and their idea is that it's their job to take care of their spouse or their mom or their dad or whatever. And in general, that's a really good thought to have. But sometimes taking care of their wife or spouse or anything like that can be done with extra help, with different means, different opportunities. The one thing we really find that's difficult is two elderly people trying to take care of each other, and they say that I have a current situation I'm working with right now that Dad wants to take care of Mom, but Dad has some things that he is hardly able to take care of himself right now. His wife happens to be in stages of dementia. So besides him trying to take care of his own health problems and taking care of his wife and whom he's been married to for a long, long time, it's not doing them much good because she would really be better taken care of with caregivers or, a home care or in a facility that's able to deal with that dementia. Then he can still, have a healthy situation at his home to try to figure that out. So I think there's always a guilt factor. Personally, I have been in the industry 30 years. When it came to my own mother, I knew what to do, but it was my own mother. And even my sister said, in joking, when are you going to do something with our mother? And it was very hard to make that choice when it came time to figure out what the best thing for her was.
Did you all talk about it a lot before that time came?
We did. All my siblings were we were all on the same team when it came to working with what we felt like should happen with my mom. And sometimes when you're working with a person that has dementia and things like that, it gets harder because you try to involve them, but then it gets very confusing for them. Or then they think that you're doing the wrong thing, picking on them, sending them away to a home. Sometimes there's negative connotations over, please don't send me to one of those places. And I think that once you get to see what's out there and get to visit, that you'll always find something that works for you, because not everything works for everybody.
I get the sense that a lot of people find it uncomfortable to talk about this type of scenario with a parent or a grandparent. And I guess I'm not really sure why that is. This conversation, if it seems, it seems inappropriate if you have it too soon. I think some people shy away from it. They don't want to hurt feelings, or it might feel awkward, right? If we're talking about, well, when the time comes and when the question of assisted living comes around, we're not sure what to do with it. Or with that right now. But it's still a conversation that I think a lot of people don't have until they give you a call.
Yeah, and I have the people that do have the conversation, and I will tell you that transition is much smoother because the person that had the conversation with their mom or dad are ready at that point because they have talked about it. They decide early that if they get to a certain point where they don't feel safe at home, or it's time for them to move on and enjoy their retirement. There's a lot of I think that one of the things that's really in people's head that's not true is there's a lot of fun in a lot of these places you can go to. There is activities. You find people that have common interests that you did growing up. Sometimes a lot of the facilities you can form, they allow you to form your own groups of some sort of an interest that you might have that, maybe they don't have on their schedule, but they let you form those groups so you can have those common interests. And one of the other main things is companionship. A lot of times people stay home alone. It's proven that the number one thing in the elderly people is depression, and that's from being alone because they don't know what to do. They might not have the means to get out and about anymore, so they're staying at home trying to do things and figure things out, and it gets kind of lonely.
Yeah. And the reality is, as all of us get older, we're more likely to have lost the people in our lives that we care about, or at least some of them.
Yeah.
And so these friendships that we've had for decades and arguably even generations may have passed on, and it can be hard to make new friends after that occurs.
Yeah. Yeah, and so sometimes, when you're living more in a social type environment, it's, easy to make friends again. And another personal story I'll share is when my mom did go to an assisted living, and she decided to go to some of the painting classes. And I laughed because my mom was never really an artistic person. But one day I went to visit her, and she had these little paintings on the wall, and I thought she bought them someplace at like some little craft fair.
Where'd you buy those from?
Yeah, and I asked her, I said, Mom, where did you get those? And she looked at me like I was crazy, and she said, I painted them. I went to the art class, and I was like, I never even saw my mom doing something like that. But it really, really brought out some things in her. And they weren't, professional, but they were very good for my mom. And I think that that's one thing that people, they find their inner talents or their things that maybe they had younger and never really pursued. I call it original design. I like to, as working with people, I like to see, people bring out what they really have desired to do.
Yeah, so do you think she just never gave herself the time to play and delve in art
it's
before?
very possible. Yeah, it's very possible that, we didn't really know that she had that in her a little bit, but it was very nice.
Yeah.
It was a very nice thing to see.
I think a lot of people share this misconception that assisted livings have to be a closed-in, I don't want to use like a prison type idea, but I think that's what a lot of young people think. But I've kind of thought about it in similar recent years as like, all right, if you listen to people talk about their college experience, often the conversation will end up centering around a time period in which they lived in the dorms. Mm-hmm. They were surrounded by people their age. They loved the community. Man, I would never live there again. Don't get me wrong. That's what people will say. Mm-hmm. I think it'd be fun to live in a dorm again, but that's just my personal opinion. A lot of people are over it, right? But when you listen to them talk about this time period in their life and this experience they had melding with hundreds of people their age and living in this connected community where most of the people around you had at least something in common with, you went to the same university, you'd find people with the same major. I feel like if you think about assisted livings like that, it's another time where you have this dorm-style community. You live with a lot of people. It's really easy to connect with people around you. Chances are similar age, similar style background sometimes, and similar interests. And you could even get into things. We talked about on the podcast before, like there are neighborhoods where couples or families don't know and they don't talk to and they don't hang out with anybody else on their block. Mm-hmm. Their friends are always a drive away. But an assisted living or a community like this is a place where you can literally live next door or down the hall from your friends and the people in your community you can spend time with.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also like how as you get adjusted to your environment, people kind of look out for each other. With all my years of experience, one time we were looking for a particular person that lived there, and someone asked if I had seen a particular resident, and I said, oh, let me go find out for you. So the first thing I did was I went to their table mates, and I said, do you know where so-and-so went today? And they go, oh, yeah, she left with her daughter this morning. So they knew more than when they left, because in some of the assisted livings, they ask you to do a sign out just that you're gone from the building, and that person particularly did not sign the register that said they were leaving the building. So the table mates that they had, learned to a lot of times they'll eat with the same people. It's it's your friends. It's the same group of people that you you get to know, so the table mates knew where the person was.
Yeah, it's their sense of community that they've made since being there.
Yeah.
That they probably would not have made otherwise.
Yeah.
So you've been in this game since 1995.
I have, yes.
Now, when did you start Assisted Living Locators?
I started assisted living locators a little over a year ago.
Oh.
I left the industry as far as working in buildings, facilities or buildings. I did that for a lot of years, and then I did some regional work. Regional work was that I oversaw a group of usually 7 to 8 properties in a certain city or state or wherever. So I left that. I decided to leave to do my own business because I really wanted to be able to use my experience and show people options and meet with people. The favorite thing about my job is that when I get to meet the person that I'm trying to help, to find out more about their life, because there's so much interesting facts about their life. I've met so many interesting people. It's amazing. I can't even think right this minute about all the things that, people have done. And, you have farmers that have built their life basically just from nothing and have been very successful, in the community or as a farmer or in their industry. Mm-hmm. People that have traveled the world. We meet a lot of people that are veterans that served in the military, a lot of amazing stories of people. So that's my favorite part. My favorite part is getting to meet that person that I'm going to be working with and trying to help.
Yeah. Did you see an issue of mismatch when you were working in the industry and for certain services? Like, do you see people in assisted living one facility when maybe they needed a nursing home or vice versa? Like, did you see this need before you started the company?
I did. Even when I was working in facilities, there were times that maybe we had someone that eventually they felt like it wasn't the place for them. Maybe they tried it for some reason or another, and then it wasn't the place for them. And truly, you're never going to get a perfect match, but you can find, different things really based on personalities. And what I mean by that, not so much Northern Colorado, but the Denver area, you have big, extravagant buildings with swimming pools and, chandeliers and different things like that. And
nightly champagne.
Yeah. And some, maybe a gentleman that was a farmer all his life doesn't really care about that piece of it. He might rather find something that is more home-like, that serves, meat and potatoes and that kind of a thing instead of fish with caviar or whatever. And it's all just different likes. And so each of the places is able to serve that and make that happen for the person.
Right.
So it's just really based on personal interest.
And serving Northern Colorado and being in the middle of this typhoon of interest in Colorado in general, has it been difficult over this first year to play with the rent prices and just the demand of people trying to move into the state? Yeah,
the assisted living has changed dramatically since I started it as far as pricing. Some people aren't prepared for it. When I first started, it was more of what we call social model. People came just because they were ready to have friends, ready to start doing more things, having transportation, things like that. And assisted living in general has turned into more of a medical model, people needing more physical help when they're there. So pricing has raised. Pricing still around Northern Colorado compared to the industry in general is, I don't want to say reasonable, but still maybe at a little bit lower than different areas like even Denver. You'll compare to, the Front Range is cheaper than the Denver area. Yeah. Some of my co-partners that work on the East Coast and work in Arizona, they have some very, very high-priced communities. And so it's raised a lot over the years that I've been in, and finding that the competition's getting stronger also. I'll just mention that Greeley's in the process of getting 2, possibly 3 more assisted living buildings that are being built in the area. So just that's good. Competition's always good because I think it keeps everybody, on the alert to, do best practices, have the best customer service, because now they're, in more competition and being able to have more choices. So I'm really, as a placement person, I'm really excited about more people coming in to give better better and different choices.
Better choices and options, because
Yeah.
there'll be more people looking for this type of service.
Yes.
And giving you a call.
Yeah.
Yeah, why do you think we've gone and leaned towards this medical model over a community model? And hey, I kind of just want to move into an assisted living area for, like the dorm style community connection I mentioned earlier.
Some of it has changed because there used to be two choices. When people would age many, many years ago, their very, very first choice was that they went to a nursing home. And nursing homes serve the different purpose now, where I remember many years ago when I worked in Cheyenne, I had people that lived there that really, really didn't need to be there. It was just their only choice. They needed some sort of help. No family, nobody to take care of them, so they had to go somewhere. And so it changed over the years, because when you go to a nursing home, it is more about just certain things that you need. It's all guided by the state of Colorado regulations. So that's where some of it changed. The state of Colorado now allows assisted living to have more care options. So you don't have to, your first choice as you age is not that skilled nursing. You have many choices before you get there, or even if you get there. With the way that the industry has grown as far as hospice, home health, home care, senior support services, we've got, when I started 30 years ago, it was incredible the lack of what we didn't have compared to now is the abundance in which we do have.
Yeah, so you think ultimately it's good?
It's absolutely good.
A wider plethora of choices.
Yes, many, many choices.
Okay. See, I was kind of getting sad over here in my chair, because I was thinking like, oh no, we moved away from this community connect with each other later in life idea to a medical model, only go to assisted living when you need physical health assistance. But you're saying that that's not the case.
That's not the case.
It's a widening array of options.
Yeah, it's a lot of options, and it's exciting to have all those options as Weld County grows, because it is one of the fastest growing counties right now. And as that grows, there's a lot of different options coming in.
Right. I was sitting here thinking like, maybe this is, I'm understanding the appeal of Florida. Right?
Yeah.
Some of the tropes is that if you live in the Northeast, you retire and you go to Florida. Like, it's just part of the equation. And maybe part of that is just that known community of retired folks that are in Florida. I was recently listening to a different podcast, and someone was mentioning that you could, on one side of this community called the Villages in Florida, you can drive for 45 minutes and you won't surpass the, addition or the neighborhood. It's that massive. There's that many people there living the lifestyle together. Good weather, lots of people like we were talking about that you can connect with and make community with immediately.
Yeah, like I was saying, that some of the bigger places, one of the companies I worked for years ago had a place in Texas, and when I drove up to it, it was gated, and I didn't know it was gated when I drove up to it, so I had to ring the little bell and get in, but it was... It is a neighborhood of all levels of care, so you can live on it as an independent person. Then you can go to a different level of care if it gets to that point, and they serve it throughout, from owning a home on the same property as going to a skilled nursing, all on the same property if needed. Northern Colorado does not have nothing that large at this point, but definitely you get into it a little more in Denver, and you find it in Texas, East Coast, Arizona, very large communities to do that.
Yeah. So you've had this business for just a little over a year, right?
Yes.
And how have you cultivated all your connections? Did you bring them all with you from previous employment? I'm sure you've had to retool.
I had a lot from previous employment. I didn't bring them all in. So, just making connections in the community, especially with every partner that has some sort of senior service. And we have a great organization that just provides rides for 60 plus. And so getting connected with them because they're in the homes picking up people. So they would be helpful to us if a person was maybe not able to be at home anymore. They could be a referral to us at assisted living locators, and, working with hospitals and the rehab centers. And sometimes you can, some of the other things you can choose to do is if you're in rehab and let's just say you live alone and you have a fall and you have knee surgery and then you have to go to rehab, but your goal is to get home. You can try different things, like a lot of these facilities have short-term respite care where you can go live in assisted living for a 30-day period of time. And in then if you continue to have rehab and then you go home, or if sometimes people like it and they end up staying for whatever reason. So there's a lot of options for that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom has spent her entire career in assisted livings, nursing homes since she was 18 years old. So her entire career has been in geriatrics. So shout out to Mama Janet.
Yeah.
But what got you into this? Why has this been your career passion for a while now?
Oh, geez. My career passion actually started, I worked in an institution with people with disabilities. And I ended up working with a group of elderly gentlemen that were... a lot of them they had, some sort of a mental disability, but they were all just guys. And it was just, that was right out of high school. And I'm not going to tell you how many years ago that was,
okay.
but that was where it really started. And I didn't really know that was my passion until I got a chance to pursue, assisted living. I first started out working in skilled nursing homes. And then assisted living came along during that time. It was a fairly new concept in Colorado, Wyoming area. It had been going in California for probably 15 years prior before it made it out here. So I just decided to pursue that and got certified to be an assisted living director, and then just started from there. So it's been a great experience.
And here you are.
Yes.
Now, I'm not sure if the NoCo has saturated the assisted living podcast world yet of Northern Colorado, but we hope to get there.
Yes.
I assume most of our listeners are maybe not in this phase of their life. Maybe they know someone who is.
Yes.
But does anything pop off your head for what you wish more people, like the average person, knew about this transition?
I think just researching. If you have an opportunity to just see what's out there, I think it becomes easier for the person that's looking, so it doesn't become such a shock or such a depressing type situation. A lot of times I do talk to people that say, I really don't want to go there. Everybody wants to stay in their own home. That's going to be my goal also. But also I think if you just look at it as an opportunity. And the one thing that I encourage people to do is to use someone local like myself, because there's online services that will, if you're computer savvy at all and you type in senior living, you're going to get a plethora of services and then a plethora of confusion, because once you type your name into a certain box, it's going to send you out many things. I get a lot of calls that say, I'm just looking for, this, and this, and I've got 100 choices and I don't know where to go. So one of the things with local is once I get the call from you, I keep you local. I keep your information private from even the facilities until we're ready to make that move. So it's something that, I keep, kind of, so you're not getting confused and bombarded with a lot of different things, because there's a lot of scams out there too, and you don't want anybody to get involved in that.
Yeah, and you're going to safeguard and shield people's emails from all this spam junk.
Yes, that is correct. Yes, I do not share emails or phone numbers with any of the facilities that I'm in contact with unless I have permission to do that.
Yeah, so you boil down the process and you help people in Northern Colorado navigate this labyrinth.
Yes.
In a time that's important.
Yes, and I love it.
Right. So, Maureen, if anyone is looking to reach out, they want some more information, and they're curious, where should we send them?
Yes, you can call me at 970-310-4307. And then Assisted Living Locators in Northern Colorado is my website. And then my email is mwalker@assistedlivinglocators.com.
Okay. And for any listeners out there, I just want to brace everyone for the coming impending day when you go into an assisted living and Justin Bieber or Beyonce is playing over the system and South Park is on the TV. Because if they're not ready for it, it's coming soon.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it fascinates me now, because when I walk into assisted living or I go see my mom, it's like, oh, it's music or it's television of back decades before me. But soon it will be my generation's multimedia in there.
Yes, it's definitely changing, and I also know that the facilities are much, I don't want to say much more active, but changing a lot to where they're really, looking at the different things, because we're in the baby boomer world right now, and more active, I think, than the senior population used to be. So there's there's a group of people that go, yes, I want that community. I want somebody to be there for when the time comes, but they're very, very active people and, just trying to get into that kind of an atmosphere.
Yeah, they'll be playing virtual reality and online Xbox before we know it.
Well, computer classes. I mean, when I first started, we didn't really do computer classes because people didn't need to know. And there's a lot of people that do know. They're into the computer. They're into texting. Right. Elderly people, it's always kind of...
Getting to Twitter.
Yeah.
All right, Maureen. Well, thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yeah, this is fun. If you enjoy The More You Know Co., please check out our other episodes. We've had such a variety of interesting and awesome people, you never know what you're going to find. I've been in awe and wonder going on this journey around northern Colorado. Read the episode descriptions, take a shot, and discover our NoCo community. Trevor Fossey, always putting in the time to edit and mix these episodes. Thank you so much for your dedication and hard work. Russell Isaac Long, our guest on episode 67 of the show, makes all our music here at The More You Know Co. Thank you, good sir. We are on Facebook and Instagram if you're interested in staying connected with us, or just to see bonus visual content in addition to this very audio-driven podcast experience. We will be back soon with another conversation, exploring and connecting the people who make up Northern Colorado. Until next time, peace!